Hello and welcome to the Captain's Table podcast. My name is Paul Berserker01, Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender at the Astropub, your professor on the Astro Historian, and your moderator here on the Captain's Table podcast. Welcome to another pub talk with where we take people from the Star Citizen community and ask them a question. We're going to be here for a bit because we've got 4 or 5 people hanging out in Discord waiting for it. If you're live here watching us, make sure you check us out over at on the Discord. And if you want to join us live and ask your questions, just jump into the um, the Captain's Table Live stage, and we'll pull you up that you kind of put in there. So, with that being said, I'm going to pull up the first of our guests, Mr. Axis0096, whom you've all known pretty well. Hold on. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. There we go. How you doing there, Axis?
It's going. It's hot here and probably hot down in Texas as well.
Yeah. It's nice that it has been. So, the topic at hand, medical changes. We're going to ask you 3 things. Number 1,
Right.
your thoughts on the medical changes that we've seen for 431. Number 2, your thoughts on the medical system that they've showed going forward and your thoughts on the future of medical. And number 3, your thoughts on the Apollo. So we'll start with the first one, your thoughts on the medical changes that CIG has done for 431. Actually, before you do, I'll probably explain a little bit to people. Because if you're new and you don't know this, in 431, the one things they have changed is that all medical beds require MedGel now. You have to purchase it, and then you have to slot it into your med bed to make it work. And MedGel has different costs, like regen costs, I think, 100 units of MedGel. And the healing is different. It's like 5 to 10 units of MedGel. So there's a cost for healing now. Effectively, is the main change. So, with that being said, Axis, your thoughts?
I think it needed to happen. We had people who were effectively earning millions and millions of credits and no reason to actually spend the money, for obvious reasons. Literally, I saw a post somewhere. Somebody said they ran into somebody. There are people literally in the verse giving away free money,
Yeah.
to people who ask. So that can't be good for the background economy. And at the same time, medically, your life is supposed to have a meaning, a purpose, a cost, if you will, an expense. Should it be free, Paul? No.
No.
I think there should be a cost for regen. I like that they've already revised it to where it's not super exorbitant, but still impacts the wallet a bit. They did a slight revision. Where was it? About 18 hours ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it should go down any further. And normally I'm all about cheap stuff, but maybe this will teach people to be a little bit more careful with their lives.
Yeah, I mean, it's also important to note that, like, when you regen back at a hospital, there's no cost. There's still no cost to, like, regenning at a station or hospital. It's only set to your personal beds. So, yeah.
It'll definitely change that aspect of the game, like remote respawn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering if they're also doing it kind of to curb some of the spawn camping around certain areas. Hint, for like things like
The ratting. Yeah, the ratting that goes on at, like, Stormbreaker.
Places like that, and dare I say ASD and these Onyx facility. Well, not really those, but what's the other one? It's going to happen during Daymar Rally. Somebody could just literally park a Polaris and,
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's so much going to affect that, but it is going to curb some of it.
All right.
It'll force them to be more creative. I'll put it that way. Not totally get rid of it.
Let's go to the second question, which is you've saw the changes that they've planned going forward, right?
Right.
What are your thoughts on the changes that they're going to be doing in the future?
Further improvements are always good. They did mention breaks, didn't they? Like bone breaks and internal organ damage, I think I saw.
Possibly. I don't remember seeing that because a lot of what I saw was dealing with medical changes in terms of regen and that sort of, how to regen, temporary regen, those sorts of things. They did say that they want to do more medical in the future, but this is what they want to do right now. They're near future sort of solution.
So I might have missed that section. They want to do more the mechanical side, not the biological side.
And more mechanics, yeah, especially around the regen stuff. So
Okay, that's good. That shows they're further evolving it, like mining.
yeah.
We're falling into that camp of where they're evolving mining, similar to the pipeline of mining, which still needs improvements. But remember, for the longest time, that was our furthest evolved profession.
Yeah.
And now we have probably the most evolved profession of all, medical, over even mining. You literally have to triage somebody in the field, haul them to a medical bed now, if they're truly in a bad state, and heal them. Because I think some of the injuries now, Paul, is it in the current PTU?
Yeah.
That they're so bad that if you're hurt, you can't walk to a med bed.
Yeah, if you get a tier 1 injury on your legs, you're crawling. I think tier 2 may even be that, but there's some at least limping. You get a tier 2 on the leg, you limp. You get a tier it's tier 1 on the leg, you limp, or tier 3 on the leg, you limp. But tier 2 and above, it's basically you're limping if you get hit. So
that's definitely going to make people really think about their strategies.
So where do you want to see CIG go with medical in the future? What are the things you'd like to see evolve in the medical gameplay?
That's really a difficult one. I think they're going down the right path, like making it an expensive cost, but not cost prohibitive. Not hundreds of millions of credits for a thing of med gel, but it's still expensive. You still have to earn enough to buy the med gel. They also up the amount of regens you get per med gel, right? Somebody mentioned radiation.
Yeah, radiation's in the game. It can kill you if you get too much of it.
Maybe a detox med setting on your medical gun. We don't have that. Notice we had the medical pin for the God, what is it called?
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but it's the anti-radiation med pen. But
I'm surprised they don't have a med setting for it for anti-radiation.
I have a feeling
that'll probably get added soon.
Yeah, at some point. Yeah, I think that's because of the HUD is just not built for it because they already have the HUDs for everything, so it's just more of a.
Okay, Jokiro got it. I can't even.
Canonide, the decon med.
Canonide. Yeah. Thank you, Jokiro. I appreciate it.
All right, so and your thoughts on the Apollo? Have you had a chance to look at it or play with it?
I did a bit of a look around of my what was it? I have the white one.
Yeah.
The Medvac.
Medvac, yeah.
I'm going to spell it the correct way, not Medivac. Bree will thank me for that.
Medvac.
But I noticed that currently the modules are locked in. You can't swap them at the moment in the PTU. That's okay. I just wanted to look at it, but it looks okay. I've heard the complaints that sure there could be an Ursa loading dock. I get that, but we have to remember this ship's supposed to have drone. So they're still trying to work that out.
It may be a bug because I know some people have said they've been able to change them. So, you could be able to. Might just need to recopy it.
Yeah, it might be a recopy. Thanks, guys.
All right. You like it though so far?
I do like it. I like that it looks like I want to say a something class. It's what Seven of Nine's parents flew into the
Oh yeah, yeah.
Delta Quadrant.
It's very Star Trek. Yeah, it's a very Star
It's a
Trek.
very old Star Trek design.
It's well, I like to call it the Utopia Planitia style. Like this is clearly
It's very
built
small.
in the Utopia Planitia shipyards. You know. Oh,
If people are curious what I'm talking about, look up Seven of Nine's parents and look up that ship. It's not the Intrepid.
it
It's a
has
very small ship.
it has sort of the design aspects of the Intrepid, but it's tiny comparative
Like
to like a
5X.
yeah. It's the nacelle is a big one. All right.
But I am pleased that one last thing, I'm pleased they kept the medical terrapins paint
Okay.
on yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you so much there, Axis. Good to see you again. And we'll have you on the captain's table here soon, I'm sure. So thank you again.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we're going to bring up Dell. Hello, Dell.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Are you ready for a spicy take?
All right. Well, let's hear the first one, which is we'll go
Yeah.
through them, and then if you want to drop another take, go for it. Which is your thoughts on the medical changes? Do you like them? Dislike them?
I think for 4.3.1, the changes are fine. They're not perfect, but that's okay because this is just the start of their balance. I think most of the issues really are just balancing the med gel itself and the monetary cost, and that's going to happen along the way. But other than that, it's a good change. We've needed some sort of sync, so this is a welcome change for me.
All right. The second one, future of I'm sure this is your spicy hot take on the future of
Yes, it
medical,
is.
about what CIG is already is planning on doing, and also just your thoughts on where you think they should go.
Okay, so I have three sections for this: the good, the bad, and the silver lining. The good, the changes are fine. I think CIG is going in the right direction. The bad, I don't think medical will ever be a full-fledged profession. I
Okay.
think it's going to be too reactionary of a game loop, and players don't want to wait for rescues. And it's kind of similar to like a PvP argument where a lot of players, you are the medical player's content,
Mhm.
and so CIG is going to really have to balance that. And I don't see a rating system ever leading to that because it's going to have to be lenient for players, and that's going to lead to cheese. And like you said, perception is reality.
Yeah.
Anecdotes will hamper medical beacons, and that's going to drive people's decisions. On the other hand, the silver lining, medical is still going to be incredibly important for orgs and for friend groups because you're going to need a medic on your team in dungeons and raids. And hopefully medical will also provide buffs like radiation resistance or some other things. It's just probably not going to be a full profession.
So more support of other gameplay aspects rather than being its own gameplay loop.
Yeah, that's where I think it's going to go. And I think that will be okay because it's still incredibly important, even if it's not a full profession.
Okay. But do you think CIG is going to even let people do things like rescue NPCs in the future?
They could. I think that is something they could do, but it when I look at that, it still needs to be the same medical system that you use with players. So that's going to limit that because again, that goes back to the argument of you don't want players waiting too long.
Yeah.
So it has to be the same system. So it's going to have to be balanced just by that.
Okay. And your thoughts on the Apollo?
The Apollo is imperfectly perfect. It is a super niche ship. It's completely focused on medical, and I think that's exactly what it needed to be.
Awesome. Any other final thoughts on medical, or where you want to see medical go?
Honestly, not really, because CIG I think hit it on the head with what they're planning for the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dell. And
Yeah.
if you want to join Dell and myself, Dell is one of the officers in the League of Relic Enthusiasts, which is my organization. So you can hang out with Dell. We call him Danger Close Dell for a reason. He will
Actually, my name is changed now. It's Wayne Grodell.
All right, there we
That's
go.
a whole story.
Okay, Wayne Grodell. There we go. Wayne Grow.
Yes, because Laura's gonna eventually have to shoot me at some point if I'm gonna do something stupid.
You're gonna eat the Vandul paste
Yes.
and grow another arm.
Yes. Thank Iris for that name change. That's all on her.
Well, thank you, Dell. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. See ya.
All right. Next, we're gonna have Jacaro. Jacaro's gonna come on up. Jacaro, welcome.
Howdy, how you doing?
So, your thoughts on the medical system changes?
A long time coming, honestly. Just anything needed to bring something to it after having the Cutlass Red and the Pisces either owned or in my hangar through in-game purchase for a while. It's nice to have something else with it other than mobile respawn for free. You
Yeah.
know, it was a one-trick pony. Now it's a decision of, hey, don't die because you're going to be very expensive if you do. So I like that. I don't know, because some people using it as a, well, I'll just backspace and go back to the Cutlass. And don't do that. That's expensive.
Yeah, you gonna pay for it?
That's gonna be a thing. If you want to backspace, be my guest, but you better pay me in advance. Yeah, that's the simple of it. I'm glad that it's finally here. One of the many been waiting for it forevers.
All right. Well, the next question is still the same, which is the future that CIG's already said. What are your thoughts on that, and what would you like to see that CIG hasn't talked about yet?
It feels like a very good framework going forward for a gameplay loop, but like Dell said, there's a very real possibility that it won't ever become a full loop like certain other professions in the game that people would expect it to. And what I didn't see as much of that I would like to have seen is an expounding on the actual gameplay from the perspective of equipment and how that affects the profession. Because the med gun that we have now, I know is not the end of it, but people see it as the be all end all and have for a long time. And I'd like to see some expoundment on gameplay in that direction, if that makes sense. Like, because what are we going to be crafting? What are we going to be doing with making our own hospitals with base building stuff like that? What is the benefit of that going to be? And that's what I would like to see. And there's not really much for it because that's not here yet.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So what you're looking for is like pharmacy gameplay sort of thing, pharmaceutical gameplay,
Yeah.
and
Like-
the nuance behind it.
Yeah, like last night, when I was watching your stream, someone mentioned, "Oh gosh, it'd be horrible if med pens expired." But what if better ones did? That would be an interesting way to keep the economy going. That I'm not just going to go to Cubby Blast and buy it. I'm going to buy a better med pen that can take a tier 1 down to a tier 3. That would be amazing. But they expire.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
All right. And last question is about the Apollo. Your thoughts on the Apollo? Good, bad?
Pretty good overall. I'm glad to see a ship that is unapologetic in its role. As always, it's like this is a hospital on wings, and that's what it is. It's not a hospital per se, but it's a clinic, and it's unapologetically itself. It's not made to pander to this, that, or the other. It feels like, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's not trying to be a flying clinic and a combat ship, or
Exactly. It does its job. It doesn't do anything else. I think I saw Eris make a mention of it. It isn't a drop ship. It isn't a cargo ship. It is a clinic. And I'm glad that they aren't trying to wheel other people into buying the ship because, hey, it also works as a drop ship, also works as a cargo runner. They're keeping it narrow on who wants one.
Okay. Awesome. Any other thoughts on medical gameplay?
Just a hope that it does actually get to be more built out and the gameplay that we were hoping for a long time. It'll take us a while to see if that's it, but like printing organs, stuff like that, and like was mentioned before, and things like that for mission gameplay, not just with other players, to give a depth to the field outside of using players as gameplay, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that is what I would really like to see to really build into the fact that it is a profession that bridges the gap between player driven and just the NPCs in the environment
All
is
right.
what I'd like to see.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shakiro. You're always welcome back. I'm glad to hear everything's going on medically on your side. So
Yep.
keep up the good work.
Thank you.
See
Yep.
ya.
Have a good one.
All right. Next, we're going to have Zark. I think it's Zark. Hello.
Hey, Paul.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, same here.
So, same questions as everybody else. The first off, your thoughts on the medical changes for 431.
So the first answer might be a bit of a weird one, but the more this year went on, and we've got the lore as well as the mechanical changes in terms of respawn,
Mhm.
the more I love the Nursa
Really? That's it.
advertisement.
That's. Is it being ironic about that, or you actually like the
No, because it's so meta.
Uh-huh.
I mean, so the advertisement we've seen as a clip is an in-game advertisement. So you must. I mean, you should realize this.
Yeah.
You have in-game regen. We have regen. Death is not permanent, guys. You can respawn as many times as you want. You die, no worries. We reprint you, and that's the spirit in which the Ursa was made. Now we have the regen crisis. At the same time, we get the Medgel, and now the Nursa, which was marketed as respawn how many times you want, looks very ironic in verse as well as out of verse. That's the first reaction I've got to this whole thing. The second part is finally medical gameplay is tier 0, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's not even medical, because the medical gameplay actually was at tier 0 for a long time, because the triagement of injuries did work for ages. I mean, even in the current patch on the PU, I triaged myself when I went into the Obsidian facilities, simply because I was hampered with so many injuries, had so much drugs I had to triage myself. That has been working for ages.
Mhm.
But now Respawn kind of catches up, and I'd say they finally make Respawn an actual mechanic, which will be important later on, because when we get permanent persistence, only then I think will Respawn really have, or regen really have a value. Right now, sure, I can respawn on a Apollo to save some time, but the value of respawning in an Apollo on a Carrack compared to an hospital or my landing zone is not there yet, because we don't have any persistence. We respawn every session in the space station, so I don't really care too much if I die and get sent back, because maybe I'll just call it a day then. So the whole respawn part, I think, will only really trickle down once persistence hits the verse. As for the changes they did, as I said, it's now tier 0.
Mhm.
There's still a lot of things I think respawn in and on itself is done. There are obvious things like imprint degradation, imprint rehabilitation, all those things for Death of a Spaceman.
Mhm.
But for me, the changes signalize that regen or regen, however you want to call it, and medical gameplay are actually two different parts that are
Okay.
interconnected.
So like they're not the same. They're just two different.
Yeah.
Okay. Elements.
They use the same utility, medbed, but I would really say they are two different things. So medical gameplay, in my opinion, is currently the med gun triaging your wounds, and this has in essence nothing to do with regen.
Yeah.
And even wound treatment is only kind of the end effect, because we only treat the wounds after we've triaged them. It's kind of the payoff you get for triaging them.
Okay.
Very, very loosely said.
So, what are your thoughts on what CIG is planning on going beyond 431?
Yeah.
You kind of touched on
So-
that a little bit. So,
Yeah. So, in my opinion, the main part I've read through the changes is they're working with making regen less cheesy.
okay.
It's all about, it matters what kind of medbed you respawn in. They kind of work out how can they make missions less punishable, or death during a mission in a certain facility less punishable with temporary imprints, all those things. But for real medical gameplay, I have not seen them say anything. I've seen things. For example, in the Apollo, that hint at certain things they might plan to do, and they've said things earlier in the development over the last 10 or so years. And what I've seen, some of those things they said still sound true to me, or things like they want to do. For example, I see for medical gameplay, I see some sort of preemptive treatment, combat stims, combat drugs.
Okay. So like buffs.
Yes,
Yeah.
I see buffs being an important part for medical gameplay, because I can just put in a med pin and I'm standing again. That's not really interesting gameplay. The more interesting gameplay would be, I'll buff you with certain combat stims in a certain situation. I handle your the drug level of your blood, all those things.
I'm just imagining Fallout 4, because like when you take like Turbo or Jet, you just say things like "fucking kill" and you just start going crazy. I guess it's kind of like a Team Fortress 2 when you have the medic who starts buffing up people and making them like,
Yeah.
you know, I can see.
That's I mean, you might not be able to treat an injury in the field,
Mhm.
but what if you can give certain stimulants that prevent an injury for a certain time, but they increase your the drug level of your blood?
Yeah.
And now as a medic, you could manage the drug level of your party, and then you can work with this. It's much more proactive, and it fits much more in the design style of CIG. They don't want passive gameplay.
Yeah.
They want you to do things active.
Yeah, I think that would require things like medical armor though, like
Yeah.
tools you could use in that are built in rather than having to like have just a med gun sort of thing.
And
So
they've said it, that medical visor and all those things. I mean, they've hinted that medical armor would have a medical visor. They said it. It could very well show the blood drug level of every party member.
yeah, having like a
Um,
nice little health bar so you can actually track like above your health bar, it tracks
Yeah.
all the party members. Yeah.
and another part I could see coming to medical gameplay. It would be very interesting how they handle it. But considering, okay, so we have the med beds in the Apollo. They have patient storage and
Mhm.
they have a bathroom.
Yeah.
Now, just gameplay wise, why do I need a patient storage and why do I need a bathroom if I'm just respawning? Sure, we have the whole immersion part, things that should be there, but even inverse, if we go just by medbed, you go into the medbed, you heal the injury, you respawn, done. There's no real reason to have patient storage.
Yeah.
However, what about sickness? What about being contagious? What if you actually have to stay inside a med bay for an hour or two, getting treated repeatedly because you have some sort of alien disease?
Okay, so
And
I'm like I play a lot of RimWorld, so I know like often in RimWorld will give you a random effect where like a bunch of people catch illnesses, or if you get like you have an injury, you can get an infection, and often the way that works is you just have to like treat somebody, and you have to wait for a timer, maybe run out the time, or treat them to a certain degree, so like their treatment gets to a certain percentage, and then they are healed of that. So I can see something
Yeah.
like that, you know? Yeah.
and those are the things I could see coming, which would fit much more with Star Citizen as a game.
Mhm.
Um, the illnesses and infections actually as a punishment, just like prison time, where you get punished for being stupid.
Yeah.
But aside from being the buff caster and contagious, I don't see much more coming actually. And I'm very unsure if we see any sort of buffs before 1.0.
Okay.
It could be because it's all about Actor Status System 2, and
Mhm.
Actor Status System 2 will be out before 2.0,
Before
so they
1.0?
could
Yeah.
very well drop it. Um, but illnesses or anything contagious, they will not bring in before 1.0 because that's much more than the MVP they're shooting for.
Okay. All right. And last question. Last question I have for you is your thoughts on the Apollo.
Yeah, it's what the Connie should be, I guess. Yeah, I'll be honest, we now have the meme. We have an Apollo at home, the
Yes.
Apollo at home,
Yeah.
and I find it very interesting because it just showcases how far CIG has come in terms of development and ship design. It really highlights how much the constellation needs a rework, and I don't think it will be a small one. I really think it needs a reconceptualization, just like the Cutlass. Um, the ship itself, the first time I saw it entering from the back, that's kind of where the whole contagious and illness idea stems from, because the back is a very weird airlock.
Yeah. It's like almost a decon airlock rather
Yeah,
than an
it's a
area.
decon area,
Yeah.
and it would make sense as sort of future proofing, I guess, that they put it in. Not sure if they get to the point where they require us to decon, but in case they want to put it in,
Mhm.
the Apollo is already there. And then you enter this ridiculously large space.
Yes.
And one part of me, it feels very wrong because it's so much space in a spaceship that appears to be empty. But at the same time, it's so much hospital vibe and fitting that's just perfect.
Yeah, it even has like for the I've seen a couple of people talk about it, but it's on the if you look at the wall, it actually tells you the name of the room, and it
Yeah.
says triage, and it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You have a big area where people can come in, where you can lay people out if they're injured, so you can still move around and also triage people. Okay, you need to go to this bed, you need to go to that bed, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
you know,
The only question I really have is seeing the Apollo, seeing the changes, seeing the design philosophy. I'm really interested in ships like the Galaxy
Mhm.
and the Endeavour Hope, ships that are much larger in terms of medical facility. What sort of changes CIG will have to bring to make those ships in any way, shape, or form usable? Because if I take a look at the Apollo, we have tier 1 and tier 2 base, for example. I can respawn a lot of people. I can treat any necessary injury, and then the question is, what would I do with an Endeavour Hope that
Mhm.
might have 10 20 tier 1 beds. Or 50 tier 3 beds.
Yeah.
And then we really get in the part where I think that goes back to what needs to come for medical gameplay, where we really need to see a huge tick up in NPC missions.
Mhm.
Um,
I mean, we don't
because
have
I don't-
any NPC missions for medical.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a huge checkup would be one,
I mean, they will have to wait until we have the whole transportation tourism system going in, because they probably will use the same system for NPCs coming on board, getting treated, to NPCs coming on board, getting entertained
Mhm.
while you fly them from A to B.
Same base system, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's really the thing. I see the Apollo, how much capabilities it has for a medical ship. Considering, I'd say, most player groups, there's more than enough for most player groups to handle
Mhm.
in the ship. And then you have ships that are much, much larger, like the Galaxy, like the Hope. And then I'm wondering what they are planning. And I'm sure they don't know themselves.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for that, Zark. We're going to move on to the next one. Good to see you, and we'll hope to see you again soon.
Yeah.
Later, bud.
Same. Have a good night.
All right. The next one is going to be Broccoli Rob. I'm going to bring Broccoli up. Hello, Broccoli.
How's it going?
Going good. Yourself?
Can't complain. It's a nice Saturday.
So, what's your thoughts on the medical changes for 431?
So for 431, I think it's a great initial start. Definitely needs balancing. I want to see a reason to heal and not to just backspace, other than a little bit of med gel. Because right now money doesn't really matter to the game. Although one thing I do like about it is that I don't think it's the cost that's as much of a problem. I think it's one of the first times where people are having to prepare specifically for a ship.
They have to go
like
out and
normally
actually
we're-
purchase the med gel ahead of time rather than having to like prepare yourself.
Yeah. So like normally you're checking, do I have ammo? Do I have med pens? Do I have med gun? Is everything on me ready to go? Now it's also checking up that your ship is properly prepared, which I like a lot, and I think there needs to be more of that in the future.
Awesome. And your thoughts on what CIG has said beyond 431, the changes they're looking to make in the future, and anything you would like to see in the future.
I like what they want to do. I think it's showing that with Death of a Spaceman, we're going to have just way more of those lives before permadeath. Like initially, I thought it was going to be maybe we get 10 respawns before we have to do permadeath and reroll and lose money and reputation.
Mhm.
Now it feels like I don't want to make a guess, but it feels like if they're making that screen, be like, here's 1 of 5 spots to respawn in, that it's just going to become a part of the game, like corpse runs and all that.
All right. So moving away from that hardcore sim sort of aspect and more towards an MMOification.
A little bit. I still think it's going to be. I still think permadeath is going to be there. I mean, they've talked about it forever.
Yeah.
I just think there's going to be a lot more chances and a lot more deaths before you hit permadeath.
All right. So you think Death of the Spaceman, because they did talk about in that multiple times that we're still planning on doing Death of a Spaceman. Death of a Spaceman is still coming, but here's all these things that we want to do in the future. You're thinking that it's more like it's not gonna sting as much as people may think.
Yeah, not sting as much and not sting as often. Like maybe you get, just throwing a number out, like 100 respawns.
Yeah.
You can respawn 100 times, and then by then it's like, okay, this, your character's been through enough. Let's reroll.
Yeah. It's important to always remember that one of the major parts of Death of a Spaceman was forcing players to pay for augmented limbs. So the idea behind like limb augmentation is it's not just players can buy augmented limbs to install onto their character, but also at some point you will have to buy limbs to augment on your character because CIG wants both. You know, they want to do the balance where like they're doing the I used to call them Sauron systems, one system to rule them all, and in the verse bind them. The idea of like reusing as much of the systems as possible. So they didn't want to build a system out just for one gameplay loop without having it matter for a bunch of different gameplay loops. So. So it's important to keep that in mind. But yeah, I think that's a good point. That's one of those things that I've been trying to say for a long time, which is I think many people freak out over the death of a spaceman, and I'm like, they can just make it so you hardly ever feel it. Like it takes 1,000 times for you to die before it actually happens. Because they want you to suffer. They want to drag you through the mud and be like, hey, you've lost all of your limbs and part of your eye. You know, now you want to get a new character, sort of. All right, so. Any other thoughts on what you want to see in the future from CIG in terms of the medical system?
Yeah, I want to see a reason to not carry a med gun, or I want to see like that's the loadout now.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a med gun. That's standard. I want to see a reason for someone to say, "Hey guys, I'm going to be the medic. I got my white and red armor on. I got the med gun. I got this that." I'm going to do that. And everyone else says, all right, awesome. I'm going to carry a pistol. I'm going to carry XYZ. I'm going to do something else so that there's a dedicated medic and medic gameplay. I have a small theory that I've been kind of seeing for a while. I think that they're going to limit us eventually to a single primary weapon. You know how currently we can have two on our back?
Yeah.
Specifically in the Dress to Kill sitcom presentation, when they're showing everyone's loadouts, everyone there except for the like specialized heavy role has a single primary weapon.
So you think that you'll have to be to be a heavy, you get the option of having two, and if you don't have the heavy outfit properly, then you have to only do one. So having a
single primary.
So you're saying like a sidearm will start mattering more because if you run out of ammo, now you have something like a backup.
Yeah, exactly. Is that like we're going to, instead of switching to the sniper or the shotgun or whatever you decided to bring, you switch to the pistol, which will further help people fall into more rigid roles without a class system.
Mm-hmm. All right, that makes sense. I also wonder.
We'll
I wonder if, because I know one of the things that they mentioned, I know these were just not real. They were just sort of like them talking about was like the leader role, and the leader role didn't even have a main weapon. I think they just had a sidearm. So there may be some other like armor or clothing that you can get that will like take up slots where you can't put on armor. You can only put on this type of armor in order to get access to these specific gameplay tools. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So then you find a way to not, like, you're this class, your X class, your Y class, but instead limit people.
Your role rather than your class, and you can switch your role if you need to,
that's a good way to put it.
All right. Last thought. Have you seen the Apollo? Your thoughts on the Apollo?
It's great. I was running around on one yesterday. I like it. I like that I'm just going to echo what everyone else has said. It's a medical ship. It can't fit a rock, which is awesome. It can't fit, you're not going to take it out to do bunkers. Maybe you will. Or you're not going to take it out to go gem mining. It does what it does. It does it well. It doesn't need to do anything else.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much there, Broccoli.
Cheers. Thank you.
And last but not least, we have Mr. Jock Kopp. Hey, Jock. How you doing?
Evening, sir. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. I'm okay. It's kind of a bit late here in the UK, and I've got my son's birthday party tomorrow. But
I don't want to keep you too late. Then,
No, it's fine. It's I tend to be a bit of a night owl anyway, but yeah, good to be here.
Awesome. So the first question: your thoughts on the 4.3.1 changes?
Much needed. Medical has just been languishing, isn't it, for years at this point, with minimal changes. So it was. I think this kind of, not a band-aid, but a kind of temporary thing where they've put stuff in that they can now has been really good, and it's kind of. I think that putting out the 2 documents at once, here's what's coming now, here's a little bit down the line, really helped. Because I think if they just had the changes coming now, I think some people would have been, "Is that it?" Like, is this medical kind of thing? I'm more thinking of people who haven't been with the project very long, I guess.
Mhm.
And I always tell those people, you always need to remember 2 things. It was always the plan that it was gonna get more complicated and less convenient. It's just that some people weren't back whenever Sergi talked about it last, which can be years sometimes with these games. Like, so it's always the plan that it was going to be this and more complicated. And I think it's, I think the best way to describe it is I think this is probably a fair amount of what we're going to get up to 1.0,
Mhm.
and plus Death of Spaceman. And I think that's going to, that's going to be a big chunk of the medical gameplay from 1.0. All the other stuff that we've talked about, cybernetics and surgery, and all the stuff that we kind of imagine. I think that's an ongoing thing. I think they'll add that. I think it's what I call the Rich Tyler effect.
Mhm.
I think Rich Tyler's come in and he's kind of taken Chris's just a matter we can do it all kind of thing, and he's gone, right, we need to get a game out. We need to get a game out in our lifetimes that someone can play. And it doesn't mean we don't do that stuff, but we need to,
We did have an actual
have
goal,
somebody more.
you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to be aiming from. And I think you've spoke to people, I think you mentioned speaking to people at CIG who said they felt better, that they had a goal to go for 1.0. They had something to shoot, they had something to shoot for now. I think you talked about.
Yeah,
So
I've talked to people at CIG both in like private capacities and in publicly at like Bar Citizens and such. And either way, they've said that this year feels different, and the atmosphere has changed in terms of the culture because they feel like they're moving towards a goal and they can see that goal. They know what it is and they can tangibly touch it. So it feels a lot more focused rather than sort of just we're just doing this. We're going to focus on this and then we're going to move on to something else. It's more like this and this and this and this and this. So
yeah, it feels now they're checking off boxes towards 1.0.
yeah.
And and we're headed there. So I would say I think it's definitely much needed. There's a lot of stuff you'd be like, oh, but what about this and that, and it's all needed. I think what's needed for medical and a lot of game layouts, but what's really needed for medical on top of the actual treatment stuff is the social stuff. The beacons, the team play, the org play, and yeah, the kind of like hostile lists and stuff like that. So if you're turning up and you take a beacon and this guy's had 5, dodgy kind of like beacons in a row, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not taking that. I think that's the stuff even more than some of the changes we're seeing now that will get people into this, because it is kind of, I don't know, high risk, high reward in so much as that if it's PvP, you are taking a risk. If it's not somewhere in your org or a friend or something like that, you never know what they're going to get, which is kind of part of the excitement, but it's also, that puts a lot of people off. So PvE and org-based stuff, I think, will go a long way to helping, medical as a profession. At the moment, especially with their beacons, but at the moment, really, it's an org-based tool. It's for when you're out with your friends and just kind of, resuscitating them. That, and I know there's med runners and people like that who go out there, do their best to kind of work around the system to try and make it work. But I mean, yeah, until we get that back end stuff, really, it's just going to be about org play, and and that's fine.
How about in the future? What are you looking forward to after the 431? They talked a little bit about what they want to do, and also, what are your thoughts on that thought? And then, what do you want to see come into medical?
I think the biggest thing I want to see at the moment is that it's not particularly skill based, and that Star Citizen has always been shooting for, I mean, I guess the best way to illustrate is mining. If you look at Eve, it's point and click.
Mhm.
Click mining, go away, make a cup of tea. I'm showing my Britishness now, but come back and your mining's done. And Chris Roberts always said that you wanted each individual thing not to be a skill based and so much as not to be a stat based and like I've got 10 in mining or whatever. You wanted that the individual player to have a skill in that thing. and that would let people specialize and say, oh, you know, I'm a search and rescue person, I'm a miner, a marine. You know, each individual profession, you'd have your own skill in it would show how good you were. And that the problem is that's great. It's also created a tremendous amount of work for them, because essentially you have to have a player-facing game loop for every profession that has to have a meaningful and a meaningful interaction with the player. The player, it has to be in depth enough that the player skill matters. So essentially, if you look at a game I've just got into actually, which is Hardship Spacebreaker, the salvage game. That is an entire, what would be one game loop in Star Set. It's an entire game based just on that, and you can really go into depth. I think what they need to do is they need to bring in something that involves, if you're someone like Tree, who who's obviously going to get really in depth into it, that he's 10 times a better medic than I will be, because he's really into that profession. And now how they get around it, how they get to that from where we're going in the immediate future, I'm not so sure. Because it take in the moment the drug system and the what we have, just it's not that complicated. I mean, the first step, I guess, is removing the auto med gun, because that takes all the skill. You went to all this trouble of making all these different medications that you need to know what does what treats what injury, and then made them completely obsolete by having a gun that does it for you. So, I think, and I don't claim to have the answers for this one. This is I haven't thought a lot about it, but they need to bring in a way that would make it skill based, so that you could specialize in being a medic and get good at it.
Okay. All right, and lastly, your thoughts on the Apollo?
Oh God, I love that shit. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so this is God. One day they're gonna do the Connie again. It's a great ship. People have talked to it's very highly specialized. I like that. I'm a big fan of, the Argo SRV. It's a tow truck. It tows trucks. That's what it does. If this is a medical ship, I think the big takeoff from it is, and I think someone else mentioned the Connie. I've always said the Connie is going to grow. Because I don't think it's going to stay where it is, which is kind of, I guess, Corsair sized. So the fact they've moved up the Apollo to roughly not far from the Connie, I think if you're a Connie owner, you're going to get a mass. I think you could be looking at Starlancer 600i. Maybe that's kind of hopium, but I think the Apollo for me says that the constellation is going to grow and it's going to be great. And I'm not going to put any money on it because I'm a middle-aged dad, so I have a lot of money to spend. But if I was going to put money on it, if I was going to put money down, I say there's a variant of a general purpose variant of the Apollo. It has to have even if they weren't planning it, I think the amount of people who've seen the ship and were like, I need this with more cargo, and I need this for day-to-day play.
Yeah.
Like a non-specialized, 3 to 4 player run about very, of course
Would you prefer the Apollo or with it, or would you prefer a Connie rework based off of the Apollo, using the Apollo as the start?
I think maybe in terms of the kit, the using the aesthetics and stuff like that, I think the Connie, it has to be a Connie rework rather than just an Apollo. I think the Connie's is, Chris Roberts' favorite ship, and it is somewhat iconic to to Star Citizen, because it was one of the first ships, and they kind of pushed it straight away. I mean, the John Crew last year sometime, he made an offhand comment during one of the Star Citizen lives, basically saying that the Connie still has a special place in the game, and it's still Chris's favorite ship, and it's still kind of thing. So I think when it gets its day, it'll get a full from the ground up rework, because it needs, and it's I think that's where it's headed. I think an Apollo variant would be good, but I think the styling, they'll take the styling from the Apollo maybe, but it will still be recognizably a Connie.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jock Cop. Thanks for coming on again, and good to see you again.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Catch you soon, mate.
All right, last but not least, I said last but not least, but then Jin asked if they could come on, and so they popped in. So last but not least, we have Jin and Tonic. But you to speak. Hopefully figure this out. There we go.
Now I bet I can hear you.
Yeah.
You can hear me.
Yes.
All right.
Welcome, Jin. So let's get started with first off, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's good. Yeah, let's hit it with the first one. 431. The changes. You like them? You don't like them? What do you like? What do you your thoughts on them?
You started to go into your captain's table
Yeah,
introduction.
I was about to. Well, because to be fair, this is probably the first time many people have heard your voice. I mean, you've SCL, like Jared has mentioned you and pulled questions from you. Captain's Table, you ask questions all the time, so people have seen your questions and heard from you, but they've never heard you before. So
Yep.
yeah, so
I'm the annoying old guy.
who's no longer living in Austin, who's
no longer living in Austin.
who's now living in New York. So all right, Jin, 431, your thoughts, the changes.
The medical changes, I mean, we're getting into, yes, in general, I like them. I think they're a first step. I like the fact that they're putting costs on things. Like charging for torpedoes and charging for missiles, now charging for healing.
Yeah.
The actual costs are a balance issue. We've already gone through one balance pass, which I think was very good one to lower the cost of healing, but healing injuries. But and I think that it's made the beds more viable.
Awesome.
So yes, a good first step.
How about the going forward? CIG has talked about it. What they're going on beyond 431, and your thoughts on that, and also what would you like to see evolve in medical gameplay?
Well, what's prompted me, I started jotting down some notes when Zark was talking, because he actually had a pretty good point about healing and regeneration being separate loops and needing something to join them, and also to actually turn it into a game loop, because right now it's not a game loop. I mean, you can hop into a bed and or you can spawn at a bed now just like you've always spawned at a bed, but it just costs some med gel, which actually brings up a point is and I haven't played with the Apollo. I don't own an Apollo. Med gameplay is not a big thing that I get into. Does the owner of the med bed have any controls about who can spawn on that bed? And can they see a list of who's in there? And can they kick people off of it?
In the future, CIG said they were going to do that. That was one of those things they want to do in the future, is be able to delete imprints from those beds. So
now, okay. So that was sort of an aside. The thoughts I was having about what Zark said, especially around regeneration, but can also get into general healing. Having an operator on the bed, and having the tier of the bed factor in, you could do things like improve the chance of a successful regeneration, even with a low regen score. Decrease the degradation of what you call the big health bar, the regen score.
Yeah, the hard health bar I call. Yeah.
Yep. Decrease the possibility of trauma effects like regenning without limbs, etc. Decrease the amount of med goo you use. Just 4 things off the top of my head. You could also, another thing I would like to see is healing and especially regeneration taking more time than it does right now. because right now it's just instant.
Mm-hmm.
Again, probably an unpopular opinion. I don't mind things that take time, that should take time. I've never had a problem with travel time in Quantum, etc. And you could also apply some of the same things to healing of injuries and general healing if the effects of med pens were temporary.
Okay.
So if after a time and you didn't get treatment from a doctor or treatment from a med bed, the effects of the med pen would start to wear off and you would start to lose health.
So kind of like temporary HP in like TTRPG games. So
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So instead of like hitting hitting your pen and you're just back up to health, it's like you now have a ticker that's coming down where you have to constantly hit yourself with pens to keep yourself topped off until you get to a. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then was that the second question or the third?
The second question. The last question, just your thoughts on the Apollo. I know you said you didn't have one, but
yeah, I don't really have a. I mean, I think it's a cool looking ship. I'm glad the people who are deeply into med play have it. It seems to be fairly well received. There don't seem to be a lot of issues with it. If people really wanted how much cargo does it carry?
Not a lot. I want to say like 16, maybe SCU. Like it because you can't get it in. You can't get in boxes. It has to be 1 to 2 SCU boxes.
One or two SCU boxes.
And I think it's too high. So it's too wide and too high. So it's 32. So 216 SCU. Okay. And either side, yeah, there are some stuff. So yeah, so it's total of 32 SCU.
Okay. Yeah, so to me, not having an elevator wouldn't seem to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, and someone was saying earlier about what do you do when you're trying to load cargo while you've got triage going on? Why are you trying to load cargo while you've got triage going on?
You should. That's a pre-prepared thing. So yeah.
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 And so I think it's a pretty ship.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jin. Thank you for coming on. And I'll look to talk to you in the future about some of the future topics.
Cool.
Later. All right, chat. That's it for our pub talk on the medical gameplay. If you did enjoy this, please do hit that follow button here on Twitch, subscribe to us on YouTube, hit the bell icon to be notified when these release, and like the video. I would love to have you all join us live at twitch.tv/theastropub and youtube.com/the Captain's Table Podcast on Saturdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, where we do this live. This was another impromptu pub talk where we'll be doing this in the future. The way we're going to do this in the future is I will try to have the topic set up a couple weeks ahead of time and post it on YouTube's socials, and I'll do it on socials, on the Discord, on my other socials, so you'll know what the topic is, so you can be ready if you want to come and talk as well. But your thoughts on the medical gameplay, please let me know down below. And of course, let me know if you like this format. I know a lot of people have their own feelings about that. So with that, we're going to wrap this up, and then I'm going to go into some small question and answers with just hanging out with chat and talking about some stuff. And then, thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black.